Hey, folks, welcome to an all new episode of So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. This is your Thursday episode. We are getting so close to that weekend. Oh, and what a weekend it shall be. But we got some business to attend to first because we have another great episode for you today. We're going to do a solo pop culture roundup with a slew of pop culture stories, including Bravo, music, true crime, all that great stuff. Just a bouillabaisse of pop culture. But then we have an amazing guest. We have the documentarian Lance Oppenheim with us, and Lance has directed a three-part docuseries that I fell in love with. That is on Max, produced by HBO. Can we just go back to calling it HBO instead of Max? What was wrong with just calling it HBO? Anyways, it's on Max right now. It's called Ren Fair, and it's about a Texas Renaissance fair. And this thing just knocked me off my feet. I've been seeing so many great documentaries and docuseries lately, but Mr. Oppenheim, this guy is only 28 years old. He is going to be huge. He is turning the documentary format on its head, and I just find it fascinating. And Ren Fair was so good, sad at times, hysterically funny. It was like a cross between Succession and Game of Thrones. Throw in Arrested Development in there, and the way it was shot, it was so visceral. If you guys haven't seen it, I would say check it out. But if you have seen it, I think you're going to even appreciate this interview more. But we're going to start here with pop culture stories, and then we'll get to Lance. But there'll be timestamps. So if you want to skip to Lance right now, more power to you. Consume this podcast any way you want to. And a big thanks to everybody for listening every day. I mean, that is huge. And it's so great because this week, especially, I've been able to highlight some different voices than I usually get to highlight. We had the three psychic sisters, the Trinity Oracles, on yesterday. I mean, that was incredible. We had Nick August Perna, who directed the number one documentary on Netflix right now, Tell Them You Love Me, which I also found fascinating. We had the director DJ Caruso, who did the three-part docuseries Bronx 90 on Peacock right now. We had him. We had Sophie Ross. I mean, it is just a treasure trove. And I got to tell you, I do miss. I mean, it's sad to me that Summer House and Vanderpump Rules are over for the season, but it's kind of exciting in a sense because I get to kind of focus on other things that I have a passion for and still include all of the Bravo, of course. But there is so many other things that it is kind of fun to catch up on. And I think everybody out there listening or potentially watching, I always say this, we have this variety of interests. It's not just Bravo. If you find a Bravo fan, you're usually going to find a fan of a slew of other pop culture things. You're going to see usually that they're well read, that they like to watch all sorts of narrative storytelling, that they like to read books or listen to audiobooks. I mean, that's what's exciting is that we all kind of have a similar vibe and we're all just sharing things like, have you checked this out? Have you watched this? Have you listened to this? I mean, this is all about sharing. I think the greatest thing you can do as a pop culture lover is share your likes and your passions with other people, with your friends, with your kids. Just go door to door, knock, tell them what you like, and then just run. No, I mean that's the thing is that we got to share these things. It's so exciting discovering something and sharing that with somebody else. It's how I've like discovered the best things in my life were from people sharing those with me. So it's a little bit of what I hope to do here. So today I think is a perfect example of that with director Lance Oppenheim. But let's get into some pop culture stories real quick. If you like this podcast, consider leaving it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's a really free, easy way to support your local podcaster and do that for all podcasts that you listen to. And if you don't like this show, or if you don't like podcasts, if you don't like podcasts or a certain podcast, just move on. It turns out we've done a census on podcasts now, and there's 3 billion podcasts, different podcasts to choose from. So you have an amazing selection. So hopefully you will find the podcast that is just right for you. Also, a quick show note: I will be today at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll be on Doug Buden's Cook and Kibitz show. It's on his Instagram. He does an Instagram live every Thursday where he pretty much cooks in the kitchen and chats. And we're going to make a pasta dish together. And I have not cooked in a long time. So I am going to be very excited to be hanging out with Doug. So come join us. It's at Doug Buden on Instagram. Come join us at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. have a glass of wine, chill out. We're going to be having a good time. I don't even know what to expect. I hope I don't burn down his kitchen. But yeah, I met Doug through the Jeff Lewis radio show on Sirius, and I've met so many great people doing that. So I am over the moon about being able to go do this with Doug today. So come check it out on Instagram if you can. It's totally free. So that's that right there. Okay, let's get into some stuff right now. So I'm recording this. It's like 12:52 in the morning, and usually I've been really good at recording these earlier and trying to get on a normal sleep schedule. But I started a docu series that just came out at 9 p.m. tonight on Hulu, and it is revolving around the Sherri Papini disappearance, the kidnapping. If you guys remember this from 2017, this lady Sherri Papini was allegedly kidnapped by what she described as two Mexican women, like blaring mariachi music. It was really interesting, the details, but it turned out it was a hoax, and an ex-boyfriend had picked her up, and she was gone for 22 days and really held true to the story. And her husband and her two kids were back at home. Her husband, he had these slew of allegations that he had killed her, but and then all of a sudden, after 22 days, she was found like off of a freeway, had chains on her. She was branded. She had bruises everywhere. And after years of investigation, she finally admitted that it was a hoax and served a little under a year in prison. But there's a new three-part docuseries that just came out tonight called Perfect Wife: The Mysterious Disappearance of Sherri Papini, that is on Hulu right now. And Maritza had told me about this, and I was really excited because I had followed this case a little bit. True crime is, I pay attention to it, and I think true crime, as this past decade has shown, has become such a force in pop culture, which is so weird. I've talked about certain cases on here before, not a lot, but when I do, I always mention that it is so ingrained now in pop culture. This is a form of entertainment, which is so dark, right? But we would be ignoring the obvious if we said it wasn't entertainment. We treat it like it's entertainment now. And it provides so many docu-series on all of the streaming networks. So I was actually very interested and intrigued to watch this three-part docu-series. So I just finished watching it. I thought I was going to watch the first episode, but I ended up watching all three. And it was good. Like, I knew a lot of the details of the case already because it had been focused on like Dateline and all of the other, uh, cable, true crime. Like, everybody had done a story on Sherri Papini. So I knew a lot of the details. The interesting thing about this is that her husband is involved in this. So we get like him doing talking heads, walking us through certain things, finding out details or certain details for the first time, of what it was like to live with his wife after she came back and when he started actually kind of doubting her story. And you realize she had had a life of like really kind of weird stories where she would lie about like these really weird things and said she was being abused by other men in her life throughout the years. She had also cheated on her husband and would, form different relationships with different men throughout the years. But on this face, she just seemed like this beautiful, bubbly, blonde haired girl with a huge smile. And you just wouldn't, you just wouldn't think anything about her, like, you wouldn't think she was the person that would lie or plan her own kidnapping or anything of that nature. But it turns out she did. She had planned this entire thing. She had used a burner phone. I mean, it was really interesting. And then even trying to put her story together to tell the FBI and the police, she would take little pieces of other people's stories, like Elizabeth Smart, who had actually did and was kidnapped and successfully retrieved, used pieces of her story. It's a really, really dark story. And I thought it was good. I thought it was a good docu-series. I hesitate to say that it was great though, just because at the end of the day, there's a big question mark on Sherri Papini, on the girl that did this entire thing. She does not participate in this. She has been released from prison. And what I assume, and I think we could all assume this, being people that pay attention to the media, is that eventually she will tell her own story for some kind of big payday, which I think would be ridiculous if, she is actually able to make money off of her story. Especially being that she is kind of a proven liar in so many instances now. But it was a big gaping hole in this docu-series because I thought it was very powerful to have the husband. We get to see the kids. And I thought, that's great. But the big question mark is why? Why did she do all of this? We still don't know exactly why. We still don't know. And I don't know if she would ever be able to be open and honest with all of the dirty little secrets of all of the shameful things that people lie about, that people create these travesties in their life. And I think that was the thing I walked away from watching that, and I just finished about 10 minutes ago. Was that I just thought, like, why? Why did she do any of this? She had this husband that seemed like he genuinely did love her. She had these 2 beautiful kids, and that wasn't enough. And I'm not saying that should be enough, but it is one of those things that you're like, God, you had so much, but you still planned this whole ordeal to get out. He wasn't abusing her. He wasn't cheating on her. What was it? But then she had this pattern of behavior with other exes throughout her life and making up certain stories and a certain history. And I think that's just the big curiosity walking away from that. And I think the disappointment is that you don't know why. I don't know why. I walk away from that still going like, well, why did she do any of this? And who knows? Sometimes it's just how a person is wired. But I think that was the part that was a little unsatisfying because they take you through this entire story, but we still don't know the why. And I think the why in any kind of storytelling is one of the most crucial elements. I mean, right? It is. Where the signifiers, like the where, what, why, when, and who. And the why to me is a huge piece of this. And we get it from the husband and we get it from all of these other talking heads, but just the main person. And the sad thing, like I said, though, even if we did get her interview, I mean, I would bet dollars to donuts 90% she would just lie throughout it. I don't know if she would be at a point where she could be honest yet. But I have a feeling at some point we will hear her story. And of course, we'll all watch that too. But I don't know. Check that out, guys. See what you think about it. It's 3 parts. It's like a little under 3 hours. But I thought that was interesting. So I'm glad I watched. Okay, moving on to a little Bravo news. Now, Andy Cohen was on Jeff Lewis Live yesterday, and he said, this season of Salt Lake is shaping up to be a fantastic season. Now, Andy Cohen pretty much says this about every season of every Housewives show. So who knows? Take it with a grain of salt. I choose to believe that it's fabulous because I believe in Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, even though I think Monica Garcia should have been a part of this next season, but whatever, right? Well, Lisa Barlow, folks, we've got breaking Lisa Barlow news today. Oh my God, I can't believe you're back. Oh my God, I got to start working on my Lisa Barlow imitation again. Anyways, it is reported that Lisa Barlow and Vita Tequila are sued. They're being sued for $410,000 of alleged unpaid loans. Now, this is from her former friend and business partner, Bart Carlson. Carlson filed a lawsuit against Lisa on Wednesday, claiming he loaned Barlow, Vita, and her other company, Lux, a total of $410,842.36 between May 2010 and February 2018. He also said when Barlow first came to him for financial assistance, he willingly lent her the money, but the pair never agreed on a repayment schedule due to their close relationship. Bart, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard right there. I'm going to loan you $410,000 on a friendship shake. Are you shitting me? What kind of businessman are you? Sorry, Bart. Sorry to attack you immediately. He says over the years, he said he's asked for the money back, but the Bravo celebrity reportedly told him neither she nor either one of her companies can afford to repay him. Now, the 49-year-old reality TV personality responded to the suit on Wednesday, saying that she's deeply saddened over their legal situation. Now, this is a quote from Lisa Barlow. I will be doing it in my Lisa Barlow voice. Bart Carlson was once a business partner in a restaurant in Park City, and I thought a friend. I am deeply saddened that he has decided 9 years after our restaurant business ceased to claim that I owe him money. She said in a statement to Page Six. To be very clear, the claim that I owe Bart or his company money is untrue. I pay my bills and obligations, and I always have. I look forward to the truth coming out, and I intend to hold Bart fully accountable for any damage this personal attack may cause me or my businesses. So I don't know if they have wrapped filming for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but if they have, is this worthy of pulling cameras back up? Are we going to get a whole camera pulling back up situation like we've done with Beverly Hills and Vanderpump Rules this past year? But what do you guys think about that? You do not attack Lisa Barlow's businesses. I mean, come on, you don't attack her family or her businesses. I mean, I could just feel the smoke coming out of her ears reading that statement. But what is this? Who is this Bart Carlson coming out of the woodwork, having loaned Lisa allegedly $410,000? And I got to tell you, where is Reality Von Teese when you need that account right now? Reality Von Teese would be having a field day with this, but they are sadly quiet. When the world needed Reality Von Teese the most, they were nowhere to be found. So this was breaking news today. I'm very curious, and it just seems like, man, Housewives, like the Kardashians, used to be aspirational. But I got to tell you, these days, it seems like every housewife, the show, for as much nominal fame that it gets you, it also dredges up so many weird people in your life, so many weird money issues. It just seems that it has like a negative effect. And I wonder what the percentage is of good to bad. I mean, there must be way more good, but it just seems like, were your lives always this dramatic, or did the drama start when you became a housewife and then everything just fell to shit? Um, okay, Real Housewives of Orange County. I talked about this yesterday, that I would talk a little bit more about it because I was lucky enough to see the season 18 premiere last night. And folks, it was fantastic. I can't talk about like plot points, they said, but it is a supersized episode. I think it's going to be like an hour and 15 minutes. And they immediately, I mean, everything that you kind of want them to focus on, like in the first episode, they do it. You immediately get pulled into Shannon Bedore's accident with the drunk driving, leaving John Jansen's place. So we immediately deal with that, but then we flash forward and we uh, deal with the Alexis Bellino now dating John Jansen, which is just this John Jansen, folks. This guy is bad news. And that's what cracks me up, is that Alexis is like kind of fighting with Shannon of like, I got your man now. Like, I'm sorry, he chose me. John Jansen, no offense, John. Well, you know what? All offense, John. John Jansen is not a prize. He is not somebody that everybody should be fighting over. Are you kidding me? And did you hear this in an interview the other day? By the way, get your barf bags out, okay? Alexis, I think it was on the Twats podcast with Tamra. She revealed that her and John Jansen, buckle up, folks. And also, if there's kids in the car with you while you're listening to this or anywhere near, throw them out of the car immediately. The kids can't, earmuff it. I don't want to, unless I don't know, just throw them out of the car. Okay, you guys ready for this? She said, Alexis Bellino said that her and John Jansen have sex or do the hippity dippity or make love 4 times a night. I can't believe that. I can't believe they have sex 4 times a night. I can't believe that. Thank you, Ken Todd. Yeah, they have sex 4 times a night. First off, I think she's lying, just flat out. I mean, that just seems like a lot of work, even if you are passionate about lovemaking. 4 times a night seems excessive. 4 times a night. First off, didn't need to know that information. Keeps me up at night. Secondly, gross. Thirdly, little disgusting. That kind of goes with gross, but I just want to say it again. Fourth, good. By the way, have all the sex you want. Doesn't mean we need to hear about it. Why are you bragging about being with John Jansen and then bragging about having sex with this man so much? Like, it's not something that I would be, being the town crier about. Like, pipe down. Like, who, by the way, the last time I heard something like this was Larsa talking about how she had sex with Michael Jordan's son like 4 or 5 times a night. And even then I was like, you know what? I think that's kind of a lie. Maybe like one time you did that. But like to think to try to put that first off, the very visual image in all of our heads. I just don't need it. I've got enough issues going on with my own personal life that I don't need to sit there and think about Alexis Bellino, who, Tamara gave the moniker of Jesus Jugs back in the day. First off, it was bad enough when I thought about Alexis Bellino making love to Jim Bellino. Jim, please don't sue me for saying that. It's just saying I think I can say that as a viewer. That was just hard to think about. But then they're done, and now she's with John Jansen, bragging about having sex with John Jansen 4 times a night? And that's gotta kill me because then it leads me to, like, think, how many times was he doing the hippity dippity with Shannon Bedore? And then that's another thought I don't wanna think about. So overall, just a lot of anyways, Alexis Bellino, she's back, and it's very interesting to have her back in the first episode. We already have some fireworks. You're gonna love it. I mean, I can't wait for this season because that's what I'm saying. We're feeling the loss of Vanderpump and Summerhouse. I think when OZ hits, I can't wait to cover it. I'm sure all my fellow podcasters are excited to are going to be excited to talk about it because there is so much to talk about. Heather Dubrow and Terry, they got a new place in Beverly Hills. Gina is going through something. You got Emily. She's like a bodybuilder now. She's dropped 40 pounds. Like everybody has, like Tamara's doing the Tamara thing, God, that's the one thing about Tamara. And I said this yesterday too, is that it's like this person that professes to be such a good friend. That's the thing. Even if she says she's, staying away for Shannon for good reasons, sometimes that's when you need to be a friend even more. Is That's the time when they really need it. And I think sometimes, especially with Shannon, it's always easier. I think she's a punching bag for a lot of people. And I think sometimes she welcomes that in her life, but that's what makes her a fascinating reality show character. So there is so much to talk about. I can't wait for you guys to see it. But since I had that image in my head about Alexis and John, I just wanted to throw that onto you guys and potentially ruin one of your days. Also, I was thinking about that. Tamara called Alexis Jesus Jugs, but then she took those implants out. And like, I know we have Tamara's implants in the Watch What Happens Live Clubhouse. I think we need Alexis's implants in the Watch What Happens Live Clubhouse as well. But you could put them on like in a shadow box, and then literally have like a little plate that says Jesus Jugs, like the actual Jesus, the jugs. Okay, I guess I'm the only one. That's probably disgusting. Okay, moving on to Real Housewives in New Jersey. Um, I wanted to talk this week about this week's episode, just in that I think, sorry, there's a lot of negativity that I feel about Real Housewives in New Jersey. Not a, and only a small part of that is actually about the show itself. It's usually about the fandom surrounding the show. There just seems to be so much negativity. And it is interesting because it's a show, you know, I don't notice this with other reality shows as much as I do with Real Housewives in New Jersey, is that it turns people that usually have a good head like on their shoulders. It completely seems to make any viewer or make viewers that really get into it, it makes them lose all common sense. Like it is interesting. There's a couple of accounts that I just dearly love that I think are like really good factual information accounts. But then when it comes to Real Housewives in New Jersey, you can tell that they have like a very specific side that they land on in turn. And I was like, wow, you lose your journalistic credibility when you take such a hard stance. And I feel like with these shows, like we always say, you can't be this rigid. You got to be open. And I think that's the thing we've learned about Housewives is like one season somebody's a villain, the next season they're a hero. You got to be able to be loose, like play, have favorites, but be loose, play fast and loose with who your favorites are. And I now I feel like I oversay this because I feel like I need to because people get their feelings hurt. They feel like this is like a slight on them. If you say anything negative about Teresa at all, it's a very vocal fan base that will try to destroy you for some reason. And I'm like, that's wild that you were this close. Like it's almost like it's a family member to them. And I really try to understand it. Like, is that what it is? Is that they feel like Teresa is family? And, as Caroline Manzo says, our family, we are thick as thieves. Like, is that what it is? But I feel like it kind of ruins people's judgment being this close to a show or this close to a character on a show. And I think Teresa is a legend. I think she is on the Mount Rushmore of housewives. But I can also say that I think she really stalls out this show. Is we, and to a lesser degree, I would say Melissa and Joey. Like, I'm so tired of scenes of Joey professing how hurt he is about his family. Like, I only got one family. I only got one family. Come on, like I'm even tired of those scenes. Like, it's like, okay, if you're going to move on, move on. I don't, I'm just going to assume everybody's hurt that is involved. And can we get to other storylines? And that's why in this week's episode, at the very end, when we had Marge totally throw Jackie Goldschneider under the bus by revealing a text message that she had sent Margaret, calling Dolores Catania a slob. And like, it was amazing. It was like pro football that, like, Jackie pissed off Margaret at the party. So Margaret was getting back at Jackie, found this text message, and literally Jackie was in a conversation with Dolores. Margaret sends the text message to Dolores, has Joe Benigno, her husband, like, get Dolores's attention to check her phone. Dolores, in a conversation with Jackie, says, "Oh, wait a second, I'm getting a text about my dog." Makes up this excuse, looks down and reads this text where Jackie, who is right in front of her face, called Dolores a slob to Margaret. And Dolores was like, "You call me, you think I'm a slob? You think I'm a slob?" It was like De Niro, or it was like Joe Pesci. It was like, "You think I'm funny? Why do you think I'm funny? Funny how? Funny looking? You think I'm fucking funny?" Like, it was, you saw Dolores, like, you saw that, like, this word slob must trigger her in some deep dark way. And Jackie knew, like, Jackie couldn't argue. Jackie was like, "Oh, come on. No, I didn't mean, I love when people, no, I meant slob in a good way. No, no, no. You don't, I meant slob in a good way. I meant slob in a good way." Oh, I love when people try to dig themselves out of a hole that they know that they can't. It's like Sherri Papini. Like, "No, I was fully kidnapped by two Mexican ladies. No, 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 no. It wasn't an ex-boyfriend that picked me up. No, no, no." Like, you are caught dead to rights. And Jackie's journey has been so interesting this season because, by aligning a little bit more with Teresa, she has given herself a lifeline on this show where she is back on Real Housewives of New Jersey. But in doing so, it has caused waves with Margaret. It has caused waves with Rachel Fuda. I mean, it is really interesting. So I think there's there's still some life in all of these characters. I just think that we need to get away from Teresa, Margaret, Teresa, Joey, and Melissa. Like, we've got to find a way to move forward. And I think, though, when Teresa has such a big presence because she is a legend, that it's almost like, I would imagine, if Elvis was still alive and you had a reality show around like Elvis and his friends, you wouldn't give a shit really about the friends because you'd just be looking at Elvis the entire time. We need to actually find a way to make this work. And right now, I feel like it's so shackled by that legend of Teresa. And that's a compliment. It really is. But this season of Jersey, I think we were led to believe that it was just complete trash. And now, after watching this past week's episode, I don't think it's trash. I think there's some really good stuff in there. It is just surrounded by a lot of tired bullshit. And, and I don't know what that means. I've said, maybe give Teresa and her family a spinoff. Maybe we go over there and see. But then somebody else was pointing out to me, well, then you're not going to have anybody kind of go at Teresa because it's just going to be her family and there's not going to be any kind of dramatic tension. But at this time, I feel like we are so over indulging this dramatic tension with Teresa that we are continuing to give it a life that it doesn't need to be given. So I think that's interesting. Are you guys watching Jersey? Also, I want to tell you 3 episodes of Real Housewives of Dubai right now that are out. They moved Dubai from Sunday to Tuesday night. And it's really, like, it's good. I would be, I'm really curious if it's going to get a 3rd season. But it is kind of like what we always, I mean, it's low. I trying to find the right way to say this because I think it's giving so much. These ladies are beautiful. You got Dubai, a new location. You have like basic storylines that we used to love in Housewives of, people calling other ladies bad names, getting into like low stake arguments. Caroline Stanberry and her dude Sergio are hysterical together. I mean, you have these basic building blocks of a good Housewives series, But for some reason, and I think, didn't help that they took over a year to go from season one to season two, and everybody forgot what season one was even about and why we should care. And I truly don't think, and I hate to be critical of Bravo, but I don't think they educated the casual Bravo viewer on why we should be watching this show. And I think, it does highlight all of these things that the Housewives were built on. So why isn't it getting the audience? Why aren't we being pulled more in? Like, I'm watching it. Are you guys watching it? You probably aren't. And I think right now is probably the perfect time to hop on. There are only 3 episodes in, and you really don't have to have a huge knowledge of the first season to make the second season count. So that's a little push for Real Housewives of Dubai. Okay, actually, one last Housewives thing. Going over to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. PK on PK. Hey, in weird relationship with Dorit. Well, PK, congratulations, just celebrated 6 months of sobriety. He has been sober 6 months on his Instagram. He posted a little thing that said how long he has been sober. And that is amazing. It is all interesting that this is happening at the same time that him and Dorit are headed towards Splitsville. So that will probably play out in this season of Beverly Hills, which is filming right now. And then also on that same token, Kyle and Mauricio came together this week to give their daughter Portia a new car. Yeah, she is of legal driving age, and they got her get a Porsche. They got her a Porsche. Are you fucking kidding me? A fucking Porsche? I had to share my dad's Corsica. Wait, like, are you fucking kidding me? A Porsche? And both, like, Mauricio and Kyle were both on hand to give it to her, and it was really sweet. It looked like she was so excited because, but a fucking Porsche? You couldn't start off with a Corolla? Are you kidding me? Like, wow. And I do wonder about how much the family drama was like, you know what? We weren't going to do a Porsche, but then it's been a little crazy. And then Morgan Wayne into the picture. So we're just going to get her a Porsche. We just want to make her feel good. But can you believe what was your first car, you guys? There's no fucking way it was a Porsche unless it is. And then, hey, that must have been cool for you. That must have been great. So congratulations to Porsche. My God. My God, isn't that insane? Also, do you guys want to feel old? No? Well, I'm going to make you feel old. Get this. Suri Cruise, the daughter of Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes, she is 18 years old and she just went to her high school prom this past week. Little Suri Cruise. We watched this kid grow up, and get this, it has been 21 years since Dawson Creek premiered, Katie Holmes' TV show that used to be on the CW. Can you imagine? Can you believe how old we're getting? 21 years since Dawson Creek's premiered, and Suri Cruise is now going to prom. What's next? You're going to go to college and then get married? I can't do this. I can't do. And also, the Suri Cruise relationship with her parents is so interesting because Katie seems to have full custody, and Tom has not had communication with Suri. And I think over like 8 years now, 9 years. It is wild, and I truly wonder. We always speculate about those pop culture stories, like we talked about this week of what Brad Pitt did on that private jet. What Solange yelled at Jay-Z in that elevator while she was hitting him with Beyonce. But also, I'd like to throw in there a pop culture moment that I would love to know the nitty gritty, dirty details is the Tom Cruise Suri Cruise relationship. What was that? Was that part of the exit strategy from Tom for Katie of, I don't want to be involved in Scientology and I get full rights to our daughter and I do not want you to talk with her anymore? Or did Tom Cruise make that decision to excommunicate Suri from his life? It's something that I always think about. Do you guys ever think about this, or are you completely normal? Okay, good. And finally tonight, I want to talk about Justin Timberlake DWI arrest that happened a couple nights ago in Sag Harbor, New York. There are a lot of details coming out. Now, this is per the police documents. The Sag Harbor police first spotted Justin after he blew past a stop sign a little more than half a mile away from the American Hotel where he had left a get together with friends. So The cops then started following Justin, at which point they claim he failed to stay in a straight line on the road, and they tailed him for about another half mile before they finally hit the police lights. Now, Justin was eventually pulled over at the intersection, which is in a residential area, TMZ reports. And at that point, cops say they suspected he was under the influence. The signs that cops cite for the determination was he had bloodshot, glassy eyes, a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage emanating from his breath. He was unable to divide attention. Unable to divide attention. What does that mean? Do they try to make him like do basic math? Unable to divide attention. Slowed speech, unsteady, and he was unsteady on his feet. And cops go on to say he performed poorly on all field sobriety tests. Now, you guys, they are going to have police body cam footage of all of this. So, like, are we going to see Justin Timberlake do a little song and dance? Like, I don't think this will be released, right? By the way, we had a Justin Timberlake mugshot, and, by the way, still a very good looking man. And, that's him drunk. I mean, you can tell he's glassy eyed and red eyed, but we don't even have a Shannon Bedore mugshot. Shannon Bedore, her mugshot never got released, but Justin's did. Like, what is the world coming to? Now, Justin told the cops that he had only had one martini and he was following his friends home. Now, there is no mention of Justin's friends intervening in the police report, but TMZ was told that his friends did attempt to intervene during this police stop, and they asked the officers to cut him a break. Now, today they had new photos of Justin Timberlake with his lawyer, and his lawyers say they are going to vigorously defend Justin, that they are going to, and I'm like, at this point, come on, because he didn't take the breathalyzer, which I guess is people, that would immediately make him guilty. So you're always told, I guess, to not take the breathalyzer. But they say they're going to vigorously defend him. And I'm like, guys, at this point, come on. Unfortunately, he's guilty. Like, do the restitution, whatever you need to do. Drunk driving. It's just, there's nothing, that's just bad all the way around. Like, and especially, he is in the middle of a world tour, and he told the arresting officer, which this is so sad. The arresting officer is so young that he did not even know who Justin Timberlake was. And I got to tell you, that's got to hurt. That has got to sting. Justin Timberlake is, and it is so interesting online. If you are a Twitter user or social media user, there is so much hate out there for Justin Timberlake. Like, I try to make jokes about it. I mean, because of course the Janet Jackson Super Bowl incident, which Janet Jackson has always said, Justin Timberlake, they are fine. You have the Britney Spears stuff that, a lot of people think that he did not treat Britney right. And of course we see the struggles that Britney goes through. But it is interesting how much negativity this one man shoulders. But at the same time, I think a lot of people still genuinely love Justin Timberlake. But it is, these are just bad situations all the way around. Now, his wife, Jessica Biel, was filming a movie the next day. So I don't know what the situation there is. They also have two kids, I believe. So this is all just bad news. He is repped by criminal defense lawyer Ed Burke Jr. The next court date for the one count of DWI will be July 26th. He did also tell the arresting officer, he's like, this is going to screw up everything. And the officer's like, screw up what? He's like, the tour. And some conspiracy theorists, which we now have conspiracy theorists 24/7 in this country, saying that this was all set up because tickets weren't selling for this world tour. So it's a way for him to get out. Now, I don't buy that conspiracy theory at all. In fact, I think his tour has been selling decently, but you never know. You never know. Also, when it says his friends try to intervene at the stop, I like to think that those friends are the rest of the members of NSYNC. I just like to think of them as always together. Like Joey Fatone's like, don't arrest my man. Like, I would love if like Chris Kirkpatrick stopped. Like, come on. Like, I want them together as a team, but I think it was just other people. Also, I want to talk about in talking about the rumors and the nastiness. Do you guys know the account Pop Crave? Pop Crave is a social media account that, pop culture news. But on Twitter, there's an account called Poo Crave, not Pop Crave, but Poo Crave, but it uses like the same logo as Pop Crave. So it really confuses people. But Poo Crave is satire. It makes up dumb jokes about these things. But the The unfortunate thing is that most people don't realize that they're dumb jokes and they just take it as fact and then they pass that shit around and then all of a sudden people really believe shit that is just meant to be silly satire. And I think that's the dangerous part of anything that these days is we just kind of believe things and then we pass it around and we spread misinformation so much and it's really frustrating because I think it confuses a lot of people. But anyways, Pooh Crave put out this tweet and it had, it looked very official. Like you thought it was Pop Crave. It had Justin Timberlake's picture and it says Justin Timberlake allegedly had traces of Molly, poppers, Truvada, and Coke in his bloodstream following his DWI arrest in New York. So this was getting passed around. In fact, it got passed to me of like, oh my God, Justin had Coke in his system. And it's like, guys, Truvada, Molly, Popper, like, come on. And then you see that it's Poo Crave, but nobody knows that. And guess what, guys? It got 128,000 likes. It was passed around all like even mainstream press ran this story. So you already have this really sad, bad incident that's really dangerous, like drunk driving, but then you add all of this stuff. And the thing is, the rumor will always travel so much farther than the truth. The rumor or something completely made up will always travel so much further. And then by the time a retraction gets made or that Twitter, like, puts a community note underneath it saying, this is a satirical account of Pop Crave. No information has been reported about Justin Timberlake undergoing a blood test since his arrest. So then they do that, but they do it like a day and a half too late. And then everybody kind of just believes this. And I think that is so dangerous. And you see this in politics all the time, which obviously is the most dangerous, but it trickles down to anything in pop culture as well. And I feel like as pop culture consumers, we have to do ourselves a solid and be a little bit more judicious in how we consume our information, that we always going to have our antennas up and realize that people are out there trying to fuck with us. I mean, they might be trying to do it in a humorous way, or maybe the intent really is just to make you laugh. But at this point, I think we all know the game. I think we all know how easy it is to be deceived. And I think that is the scary part. So, anyways, we'll be covering Justin so much more. I'm sure there's going to be more details coming out about this, but this was big news. But also, if you're Justin, I think just the amount of people reveling like celebrating his arrest was interesting and sad and all of those things. And I just thought, wow, I mean, what a way. I don't know. It's very interesting. People's opinion of Justin Timberlake is just truly something interesting to behold. Anyways, that is the pop culture roundup today, folks. Now let's get to Lance Oppenheim. This guy, 28 years. I keep saying that, but I'm just blown away because he's already has this body of work that I think is fantastic. Go check out his other work. Sperm World is on Hulu right now. Another fantastic documentary. But I truly believe this man is creating his own form. He is doing something that it really, to me, like I said earlier in the show, I think turns documentary format on its head and creates this kind of new form. And I think documentaries are calling out for things like this. And I think this guy is an insane talent. I cannot wait to see where he goes from here. But Ren Fair, you guys, just to tell you a little bit more about it, this is about the Texas Renaissance Fair. And it is produced by Josh and Benny Safdie. They're Alara Pictures. Now, the Safdie brothers, one of my favorite films is Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. He did that, but they also did Good Times. I mean, they've done just so many amazing things in their career so far, but they produced this. It's a 3-episode docuseries centering on George Cullum, and he is an octogenarian founder of the nation's largest Renaissance theme park, which welcomes about 500,000 guests annually to carouse among costumed entertainers while munching turkey legs and cheering on jousters and all the things that you know about a Renaissance fair. But this is like the biggest one. This festival generates enough revenue in its 2-month season to justify a year-round staff. And not only that, but it essentially has its own borders and police force operating within this place. And Cullum, he's like king. He's like the king of this. Like he is King George. And he rules this place with an iron fist, and he has for decades. He is the mayor of this whole place. He is the overlord, but he's wanting to cash out. And that's what this is about. He's wanting somebody to buy him out because he wants to spend more time. He's like 86 years old and he's projected to live until 95. And he's going to make sure that happens. But he also wants to chase tail. He's like a kind of sugar daddy. You see him go on multiple dates, trying to chase multiple women throughout the course of this 3-part docuseries. He names his private parts, for the love of God. He is so open. He is such a character. I mean, they're all characters. It is truly this amazing peek behind the curtains. And I think the style in which Mr. Oppenheim tells this story, it just envelops you. It is just truly, I was just in heaven. I wish there was 30 more episodes, but there is, alas, only 3. But you can watch all 3 streaming now. Add it on before you watch House of Dragons season 2. And here is my conversation with somebody that I think is just wildly talented. And you can tell I truly geeked out. But here he is, the director of Run Fair, Lance Oppenheim.